In the heart of the decimated New York City, Dr. Amelia Bennett, once a well-respected virologist at the pinnacle of her career, now hunkered down in the barren remnants of what was once Bellevue Hospital. It was the epicenter of the battle against a seemingly unbeatable adversary, a virulent disease named Strain Z. Strain Z had devastated humanity, wiping out nearly 70% of the global population. It didn't just kill. It destroyed the essence of humanity, leaving the victims in a near catatonic state, shells of their former selves. But Amelia, despite witnessing the onslaught of her species, held on to a shimmer of hope. Her life, her failures, and her triumphs had led her to this precipice of time. She was close to finding a cure, a beacon of light in a world drowned in darkness. Her latest creation was Serum ZR1, a concoction of antiviral agents and nanoparticle solutions designed to annihilate the strain Z from the human body and restore cognitive function. A solitary volunteer, a burly ex-firefighter named Tom, sat in a sterilized room ready for the injection. "We're going to beat this, Tom," Amelia assured him, her eyes a mirror of conviction behind her protective goggles. "I trust you, Doc," Tom replied, his voice trembling with a blend of fear and hope. The serum flowed into Tom's veins, marking a significant moment in the annals of medical history. For the first time since the pandemic began, hope seemed to dance in the air. But it was short-lived. Within minutes, Tom convulsed violently, his pupils dilated, and a guttural sound echoed from his throat. His skin turned a sickly green hue as he morphed into a monstrous, zombie-like figure. Amelia's heart pounded like a war drum. "Containment breach!" she screamed into the intercom. She ran for the exit, but it was too late. Tom lunged at her, his newly deformed mouth seeking flesh. He sank his teeth into her arm before being pulled away by the containment team. In the hours that followed, the nightmare unfolded. The bite didn't kill Amelia, but it transformed her. She and Tom were patient zero, and one of a new, more terrifying breed of humans. Despite the infection, Amelia retained her cognitive abilities, trapped in a grotesque body, her mind a prisoner of the monstrous form she'd become. Soon, there were hundreds like them. The hospital turned into a breeding ground for these creatures, the once hopeful cure instead spawning an even worse apocalypse. In the throes of her transformation, Amelia couldn't help but reflect on her journey. Born to a family of prominent doctors, she was a prodigy who had topped every exam, aced every course. Her passion was infectious diseases, the unseen killers. She had dedicated her life to understanding and combating them, dreaming of a world free of disease. She never imagined that her quest would usher in humanity's darkest hour. The isolation rooms turned into feeding grounds. The halls, once filled with the hustle and bustle of doctors and patients, now echoed with the grotesque sounds of the newly formed zombies. Amelia, unlike the others, could control her insatiable hunger, but her humanistic reasoning was slowly being eclipsed by an animalistic instinct. "Amelia," a voice echoed. It was Dr. Robert Hayes, her mentor and only surviving colleague. His eyes welled with fear and sadness. I didn't mean... I just wanted to help," Amelia stuttered, tears mingling with the sweat trickling down her contorted face. "I know, Amelia. I know," Robert said, his voice trembling with raw emotion. He looked at her, his eyes filled with both dread and pity. Robert himself had been a part of the development of the Serum ZR1, sharing the responsibility of the chaos that now ruled their world. They found themselves barricaded in the makeshift lab, their only sanctuary in a building turned into a zombie hive. Outside, the moans of the undead served as a chilling soundtrack to their predicament. "My hunger, it's getting stronger, Robert," Amelia confessed, her voice barely a whisper. The sight of her mentor was slowly morphing from a friend into a potential meal. The impulse to attack him was growing by the second. "Maybe there's still a chance. If we could reverse engineer the serum, perhaps we could reverse the effects," Robert proposed, holding on to a desperate sliver of hope. The next few days were a blur of tests, trials, and failures. Amelia's mind, still human and brilliant, was rapidly being consumed by her gnawing hunger. The moral dilemma of her situation made her situation all the more horrifying. She could end it all, kill herself, and avoid hurting others. But that meant abandoning the faint hope of finding a solution. One morning, after countless attempts, they had a breakthrough. A modified version of Serum ZR1, which they named Serum ZR2, seemed to inhibit the transformation in lab rats. It was their last hope. Without a second thought, Amelia injected the new serum into her veins. At first, nothing happened, but then she felt it. A reduction in her hunger, a sense of clarity returning to her mind. Her disfigured features gradually started to recede, and for the first time in days, she saw a glimmer of her former self. "We did it, Robert. We did it," Amelia whispered, tears of relief streaming down her face. But her victory was short-lived as she turned to see Robert, collapsed on the floor. During their intense efforts, he had been bitten by one of the test subjects. Amelia rushed to his side, applying the Serum ZR2 in a desperate bid to save him. The hours passed in anxious anticipation, but Robert remained unchanged. The serum had been too late for him. As Amelia sat beside Robert's transformed figure, she couldn't help but think of the ironic twist of fate. Her noble intent had birthed monsters, and her desperate redemption had come too late for her closest ally. But Amelia vowed not to let his sacrifice go in vain. Armed with the Serum ZR2, she ventured out into the hellish world she'd unintentionally created, hoping to right her wrongs, one cure at a time. The scientist-turned-monster-turned-savior stepped into the dawn of a new day, determined to restore humanity and repay her enormous debt. For in the end, she was driven by the same force that started it all, the desire to help everyone. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more true scary stories.